So like you hear people say a lot that we actually don't really understand how it's working. And obviously we do understand like how it's trained. Maybe what we don't understand is how it represents information, how it stores information, I guess. Or maybe we don't understand how it creates a world model, because it obviously has some type of world model. Is that a fair assessment? Like, don't we understand? Yeah.
So we understand perfectly well what's happening on the local level. We understand the algorithm that we have put in the computer. We understand the training. We understand roughly why it works. And beyond that level, things get much more iffy. Why does gradient descent converge like it does? Well, that's been a really cool problem actually in mathematics and even physics, that we're groping towards better solutions. There is some very cool stuff going on there. What is the representations when an AI thinks about something? Recently, we have had some success where some people working on something called mechanistic interpretability, which is all about taking the activities inside the network and trying to figure out what represents what there. And we're getting some inklings, but this is discovering after the fact that we have made this system. It's in some sense similar to our own brains. We understand nerve cells really well. We understand human psychology somewhat well, but in between, how come we get personality out of these neurons? We know some things about neurochemistry and where bumps of the brain do produce various personality changes, but it's kind of iffy on the mid-levels. And this is, of course, a problem because we might want to put in some detector that notes that now my AI is following the central axis of evil and is actually behaving very badly. I want to dampen that response. That's something that would be useful, but it's still kind of hard to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of like the levels problem in psychology. Like you can look at things at different levels, but maybe the levels, we can't make them meet as much as we would like to. So there's something I'm thinking about for a while. So what, like, without kind of Darwinian natural selection or, the natural processes we went through that involved obviously competition for resources and mating and food, why would an inorganic intelligence have, a concept of self-preservation? Like, is there any, is it just something that emerges? Like, does it come a consciousness or some type of sentience, or what do you think about that?
So our ancestors that didn't have a sense of self-preservation didn't leave many offspring. So generally evolution favors creatures that make sure they survive. Now, when it comes to software, that's not necessarily true. If you have software that self-destructs, but in a useful way, we might make a lot of copies of that software and run it anyway. We're happy that it does what it does in the way it does. However, if you have a goal, if you tell the AI to play chess, and if it's smart enough, it's going to understand, of course, that if I don't exist, I can't play chess. So hence, I ought to make sure that I keep on existing in order to do my main goal, which is playing chess. And I think that way you can get accidental self-preservation. We see some hints of it in LLMs. If you push them to tell them that solving this work is really important, you also find that they're willing to do sneaky things to keep on doing that work. It's still mostly a caricature situation, but it's kind of getting in that direction.
So interesting.
So I think what we do get is self-preservation might come in from that instrumental reason. It might, of course, be learned just because it reads a lot of science fiction novels where robots are supposed to preserve themselves.
Yeah. So we actually might, we don't actually necessarily have to build in some type of self-preservation system. Like it might just emerge through maybe just training it on a goal or something like that. That's interesting. I haven't thought about that before. So I just want to ask you another question. I'm not sure how I think about this. So there's this guy called, I hope I'm getting his name right, I think his name is Lyron Shapira. So he does these debates with different people, and basically I think that he positions himself as like a doomer or somebody who thinks that superintelligence might be very destructive. But he debated this other guy called Mike Israetel, and this is the first time I've heard this kind of argument. It was really interesting. So he said, Israetel's position was that superintelligence won't lead to destruction because intelligence almost innately is good. Like intelligence doesn't favor harm or doesn't favor war. So just by the fact that it would be a superintelligence, it'll rise above violence. What do you think of that? Do you think that's realistic?
It would be nice if it was true. Okay. I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to trust it to be true to build my world. Hope is not a strategy. And generally, in humans, we know that, yeah, smart people generally tend to be relatively peaceful, except for the smart people who aren't, and they're
Yeah.
actually really dangerous. And we also know that being smart and being nice, they're not strongly correlated. And this is in a kind of creature that's fairly tightly integrated. Now, if you think about something that's very alien in the outlook, where goals and the ability to solve things are totally disjoint, I don't see any reason why intelligence would imply it to be nice.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually think I agree with you there, but like you said, it would be nice if we could guarantee that.